Let us begin here at another episode of A Dangerous Podcast, my favorite podcast and your favorite podcast on this and God's internet.
Were you quoting the House of Pain?
That I was. I thought I'd bring a little class to the show here, everybody. A little bit of class to the show. And I'm your host, Ian Alley Seals, here at A Dangerous Podcast with our fearless co-host compatriots. I'm here with John. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well. You want to see a puppy?
Yeah, man. For those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, this podcast is really just a delivery system for puppies. And John's got them puppies. Let's see them. Who we got today, John?
This one is Limbaugh.
Oh. This is a horrible...
Names change every time.
This is little Limbaugh. No. I woke him up just to put him on camera. He's kind of pissed at me.
You frozen up there, John?
You sure his name isn't Piers Morgan?
Well, we got that puppy off the frame now. So I'm gonna kick you down to Ray. Ray of UCLA. How you doing, Ray?
I'm ready for class to be in session.
Right. Ray, I don't know what joke we're doing right now.
I don't know it. No, it's from...
Oh, because of the movie we're about to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's cool.
Yeah,
at least I watched the movie.
I'm really not with it, everybody, today. But welcome, Ray. I'm liking the hair. I'm liking how I always like the way you look, Ray. And I like how, yeah.
Well, I'm more than just my appearance, but I am wearing no makeup and I'm freshly out of the shower. And I am wearing pants.
And you're wearing pants.
And no bra.
So, I was checking on Ray.
Damn, Ray, this got real.
So I was checking on Ray, and I was like, hey, Ray, you joining? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we're with you, yeah. And I'm glad you told us that. I'm glad Ray's wearing pants. You have no idea whether any of us are as well.
My understanding was always that pants are not required.
Yeah, I mean, for all you know, I've been pantless every single podcast up until this one. So,
well, isn't that what we all assumed and have been thinking about?
I mean,
guys, we're so. I'm sorry. I've taken us into hashtag Me Too movement right now. And Ray, I apologize.
Happy Women's Day, by the way. Yeah.
Happy
I've once again said, Ray, you are the whole package. You got the brains, you got the looks, and gentlemen who are out there on Bumble,
I'm about to just shut down all my friggin' dating profiles. I don't need them anymore because I have this podcast.
That's right.
You know, all of our viewers are Ray's dating suitors.
Especially all of her suitors in Japan.
Yeah, all our 2,200 followers are all just my suitors.
Man, it's like
that's the way it goes.
Like Penelope and Odysseus right there. So I'm going to move on.
There will be trials. Feats of strength will be required.
Well, we'll be broadcasting that when it's time. Hey, Jules, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty well. Well, I was.
And then what happened?
You know what happened.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We all to watch a certain movie today or this week, and we're going to kick it over to the man who brought that to us. Jason, how you doing, buddy? How you feeling?
I'm in good recovery from COVID. I'm feeling a lot better, and despite all the problems that I've had in life lately, and business being a little bit tough, have to shut that off for 2 weeks while I'm sick. At least the Small Business Administration gave me a COVID relief loan. At least there's that going for me. Holy goodness.
Excellent.
Oh, cool. I would like the world to know right now that Jason came down with COVID, suffered COVID, and recovered from COVID while never missing a podcast.
That's right. So what
Jason-
excuse do any of us have, really?
Nothing.
I mean, I was threatened by John that if I didn't show up tonight, I would be replaced.
Yeah,
So that's why I'm here.
We were on the phone with Melanie Griffith.
I did not say that. No, I did not say that.
Ray, I'm telling you right now, we would never ever replace you for
We're
Melanie
replacing
Griffith.
Ray.
I mean, John or Jules will be replaced by Melanie Griffith any day. Any day.
I will step aside.
I thought so. Let me just say that there was a chance Ray wasn't going to be able to make it tonight, and I wasn't going to replace her. What I was going to do is have my friend Nick step in again, but I would insist that he refers to himself as Ray.
It's kind of the same thing, really.
And your friend Nick, I'd welcome him back anytime.
Anytime, he's great.
Yeah.
And by great, I mean far better than any of us. He really actually is really good at what he's doing and brings his A game. We're C- grade at best. Anytime. I'm going to say we would flunk out of the college that this movie is set in. We would not make the appropriate grade. You'll know what I mean.
Sure, it's demonstrated that it doesn't take much effort to get a B average.
But Ray, I'm
But
really
anyhow,
glad,
I'm skipping
glad
ahead.
you're here. I'm really glad you're here, and we would never ever replace you with Melanie Griffith. I will say any of us at any time can be replaced by Lou Diamond Phillips. If Mr. Lou Diamond Phillips, our patron saint, would like to sub in for this podcast, he can take my chair any week. So,
Cheryl, I did figure out who was sending me the perfume. I will private message you.
No, fuck that.
Wait,
Say
what?
it now. You confess right now. Confess. I want a
Who is it,
name.
Ray? Okay,
Who
we're
is
going to
this
step back
scoundrel?
back around the time of Mystery Date, these many episodes ago.
Around Valentine's Day.
We found out that Ray had been getting mystery gifts from a suitor. And we've been employing incredible skills of detective work to try to figure that out. And by detective work, I mean we yell at Ray every few episodes. And now we find out she knows, and she's not telling us. Do you have any idea how many listeners we're going to drop at this point? That's the only reason they're around.
That's the mystery box, as J.J. Abrams called it.
Well, I think we're all intrigued. And so everybody, send in your messages to Ray saying, we want to know who the mystery perfume suitor is. We want to know. I mean, Cheryl's about to know. I'll ask her later. You know, I think she'll tell me. Cheryl, you'll tell me, right? You'll tell me.
O's before bros.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on right now. So I'm going to say, I'm going to address something which is many episodes ago, John demanded that we drop our ongoing tradition of Lou Diamond Phillips facts. And I respect that. John started this podcast. He brought us all in. If he doesn't want to talk about, one of the great actors of our generation, a huge talent who really spawned this entire series, then we don't have to.
But I wanted to replace it with something.
Yes, and so
You just
I'm
shot
gonna
it
say
down.
right now. Does anybody have any Melanie Griffith facts to give out today?
No, that's not what I wanted to do.
Well,
I wanted to replace an interesting fact of Lou Diamond Phillips with say a nice thing about Steven Seagal.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
You
I
have
will go Lou Diamond Phillips facts every week.
Every week
But
we
want me
go
to
around
feel
and we
good
say a
about
nice
Steven
thing about
Seagal?
Steven Seagal. Every week we have to do
Who
it.
can do that?
Let's try it.
Oh my God. You know what? I can't even believe this, guys. I just, happy International Women's Day to me. I just realized that on our page, A Dangerous Podcast, it says 5 guys reviewing movies.
Yeah, you just put on
You're a
that.
guy. You're one of the guys.
That's a
You have
different
pants
movie.
on and everything.
Maybe watching it next week.
Oh no.
Fine,
Hey,
fine,
equality
fine.
here.
I'm one of the bros then.
What do you want me to say? 4 guys and a lady? And a little lady?
Don't say little.
That is a different film, John, and we may be reviewing that next week.
All right.
Okay,
I will start.
So,
let's go around and say one. Let's go around and say one nice thing. Let's see what happens. Okay, maybe we won't do this every week. Maybe we do, but let's start it and see what happens. I will start. Steven Seagal has taught children. Has given martial arts lessons to children.
He's not good at martial arts.
He probably horrified the children.
John, that doesn't
You know what?
It's point
He
counterpoint.
took his valuable time, and he. Listen, these aren't up for argument. We just
Are these children doing well, or are they damaged?
we're not having the Steven Seagal is it nice or not debate.
Okay, all right. At one point, he taught children, probably for a tax write-off. Got it. Understood. I'll go next. At some point in his career, he was fit. That's what I can say. At some point, probably around Under Siege
17.
and Under Siege 2, he was probably fit. He was not fit by the time of on Deadly Ground. He wasn't, but at some point, he was in shape. That's what I can give Steven Seagal. Sure.
I mean, I don't think any of us are prepared for this, so
Yeah. I feel
Yeah,
sorry.
there's some deep Googling here, even deeper than the Blue Diamond
hold on,
Phillips
let's
facts.
Does anyone else want to go before? Because I have a statement to make about this.
Oh my,
Okay.
a statement. Okay.
You don't
I'll
have
just-
to.
Oh,
I mean, he's lucky enough, like I mentioned on the last episode, to be married to Kelly LeBrock for like close to a decade.
yeah, but is that a nice fact for
challenge.
Kelly LeBrock?
It was nice for him.
Right, the challenge is to say a
Okay.
nice thing about him.
Okay. He was married to Kelly LeBrock. All right. We all wanted to be in the 80s. Great. That's fantastic. I'm getting really angry about this. I don't know why. Sorry, everybody.
So's Canarso.
It's designed to make you angry.
Jason, anything good you can say about Seagal?
No.
Okay.
All right.
First of all, for weeks, I want to talk about the LDP thing for a second. And we're not going back to it. That's fine. We're not going back to it.
We ran out of things. We just
No,
there's
we
more
didn't.
things.
And this is my point, John. You yelled at everybody for weeks about when you go down just the Wikipedia page and everything. And yes, we were all just going down the Wikipedia.
And it's
you
not
had
a very
no
long
idea,
Wikipedia page.
No idea how lucky you all had it. Because I had to find something interesting about Melanie Griffith today that didn't have to do with Roar. It is impossible. Like, not
Really?
a joke. Like, we could have gone Lou Diamond Phillips for a year and never run out of anything just off of his IMDb page. For Melanie
Well,
Griffith,
I found some LDP facts in the Twitter sphere too.
there you go. So,
I found it on the Instagrams.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Yeah, it's John who really, really downplayed it. Now, one of the things that I am going to say, though, is Melanie Griffith has 3 known tattoos. All right? One
No.
is a yellow pear on her
One a
face.
lion.
No, it is not. It is not. One is a yellow pear that she has on her ass. One is a pot leaf on her ankle. And one is the name of her most recent ex-husband, Antonio, circled in a heart on her arm.
Of course.
Of course.
Those are the only 3 tattoos known to science.
She's divorced. Yeah.
You could have a I love you, mom. You know.
At least she has a reason to have an Antonio Banderas tattoo. I'm still wondering why Jules has his.
I remember when John, you were going to get your first tattoo, and we had to talk you out of the Antonio Banderas tattoo, and you ended up with your Steven Seagal.
It's right up there on the wall. It's like a standard one with a discount, so people pick it.
You've got the pot leaf, and then you've got Antonio Banderas. You can get, it's half price. Any tattoo parlor in the continental United States. All right. Gnarso just threw down the gauntlet. If we start saying nice things about Steven Seagal, he's out. And let's be fair, Gnarso is one of the 4 people who actually listens to this
These are
podcast.
biggest.
Live,
The 4 people in the United States.
In the United States, yes. So, all right. Well, I'm glad we're all here, and we got we have an interesting film to be talking about tonight. It is different from the film we were going to do. Jason had thrown down the gauntlet for us to be watching the last horror movie, but we did a switcheroo, which has been known to happen from time to time, and we want to talk about why. John.
So yeah, there's been 3 times when, and I was saying this earlier, there's been 3 times when we switched movies, and I'm responsible for all of them. I just couldn't do this movie. I just couldn't do it. And it's my fault. And I'll tell you, I was watching it the first time, and it was like murder porn. And like, it reminded me a lot of a movie I used to like in my 20s when things like this didn't affect me. There's a French movie called Man Bites Dog, and it's about a film crew. Like, they're doing a reality show on this serial killer French guy, and they go around. And I used to really like this movie. And then I had a kid, and I got old, and my empathy level is just like movies that I couldn't watch before, movies that just didn't, faze me at all. I just can't watch it. So this movie was a little disturbing. It was, intimate, like reality show style, like murders. And I was like, I can't do it, and so me and Ray tried to watch it one time, and was like, we couldn't get to it. And then a couple days later, I'm like, you know what? I'm disappointed in myself. Jay gave us a movie. Fuck it. I'm going to watch it. And I got maybe 10 minutes into it again, and I just couldn't do it. I was like, I just can't. I just can't do it. I can't do it.
Maybe it's because I don't have kids, but
yeah.
I thought all the murder scenes in that movie were just cheesily done, because I've seen a lot of horror and slasher and those kinds of movies, and if I see a scene that's really gruesome and I go, oh my goodness, then I actually think that's because it was a good horror movie and that's the reaction they're trying to elicit. But in that one, I thought all those scenes were so poorly and cheesily done. To me, it was just like silly the way they did it.
It wasn't Neil Breen bad, which,
but you didn't see the trailer. The trailer for that movie actually brags as being better than American Psycho and lists a bunch of movies that it thinks it's better than.
In fact, I really like that marketing strategy. Like every movie, like when Jurassic
Gnarso wants to know the name of the movie we're talking about. It's called The Last Horror Show, The Last Horror Movie. Jason picked it last week. I bitched out on it. I started watching. I said, I can't do this movie. He was nice enough to pick another one, which is where we are today with Big Man on Campus.
But I will say, right now, the last horror movie, if anyone wants to talk about it, you can email, text, or call Jason anytime.
Actually, let me give you his address in case you wanted to reenact some of the scenes.
Yeah. We can throw a social security number up there as well. That'll really help this.
Yeah,
thing
just make sure that the murder attempt is really authentic.
Obviously, Ray, or else
Otherwise, Jason's going to be turned off.
Yeah, you're just phoning it in at that point. So next week, everybody,
and I'll help it out. I'll put Jason's number on the.
Just to let everybody listening at home, John just threw up on the screen. Call Jason at a specific telephone number.
Yeah, or call me on that number if you want to start like a separate podcast about bad horror movies.
Yeah, preferably with somebody who's not a bunch of preferably without John, who's a big bitch.
Well, John, just let you know,
you happen to be sociopathic and you have no sense of empathy.
Yeah. So to let everybody know, next week we're going to be watching a film called Martyrs, and that's just for John. No, I'm sorry.
Next week I'm picking motherfuckers.
Okay, sorry.
I'm pretty sure it's my turn.
Martyrs is known as one of the most horrific torture films of all time. Also,
Cheryl just pitched a better movie. There is the movie
Right,
you
she's
watched
just
about
right.
Bigfoot going to college. No, and I wish I saw that
No,
one.
but
Yeah.
make that Cheryl, make that movie. Go make that movie. Because it'll be too good for us to review.
Yeah, there's no we are not watching a Cheryl film for this podcast because it's way out of our league. It's way out of our league.
Way out of our league.
So, but let's talk about the film we have. Let's talk about the film we have. And if we weren't going to do a torture porny horror film, I don't know. Is porny a word? I've been typing it lately, and I don't think.
Haven't we all?
Ray just put a kitty on
I'm house sitting for pet sitting for my brother. That's why I was going to possibly miss this episode. My brother's 2 dogs, well, my sister-in-law, and their cat, Bash.
But Ray checked in with those animals, and they gave her permission to be here.
I tire them out with a long walk, so now they're good.
Excellent.
They won't bark and jump in front of the computer.
Excellent.
If they do, we will forgive them. Remember, the entire point of this podcast is just seeing puppies. So, never worry about that.
Right. Show us your puppies.
The movie we got is, well, it's the exact opposite.
I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
I don't think our ratings are ready for my puppies.
Jason, what's the movie we have today?
The movie is yet another one that I've seen just from flipping through TV in the 90s because we didn't have streaming and on demand. You just had whatever channels your parents were subscribed to, and you'd flip through and you'd watch whatever was on because that's all there was to watch. Yeah. For whatever reason, this movie was on like HBO or Showtime or something like that over and over and over again when I was a kid. My sister and I must have seen this movie like 1,000 times when we were kids. And we thought Bob Maluga was like the funniest character ever.
Okay. And the name of the film?
The name of the film is Big Man on Campus.
Big Man on Campus.
You should have gotten more channels, Jason. I don't know who's buying your cable subscription. You should have went for HBO. Was this like Cinemax or something? It was Cinemax, right?
I don't remember exactly what station.
Right.
No, you totally could have seen this on HBO. This could very well have
Did
been.
HBO really sync to these steps?
No, they didn't. No,
their movie Cinemax library, because everybody else's movie libraries are pretty bad, but HBO I thought had when it came to movies.
But HBO in 1992.
They would play older movies, but they wouldn't play something this quality. No, they didn't really mess around with that.
All right.
I don't know. Maybe I didn't have HBO, so I don't know.
Maybe
HBO was like $12 to add to your cable, and Cinemax was like $5 or like $1 or something like that. And then you got this movie. You got all of the movies that Jason is picking.
I grew up with every station there was on that TV provider, and no supervision.
and that's how we got Amanda and the Alien.
Yep.
Jason was literally raised by Amanda and the Alien. Big Man on Campus, right?
Jason has every frame of that film on printed and on his wall in his apartment. Would you really say that Amanda and the Alien was the formative experience of your young life, Jason?
No, but it ranks pretty high.
All right. And I like that you admit that, because Dangerous Touch has been actually really important to the life of both Jules and I. I want to delve back into that. If we're not going to talk about Lou Diamond Phillips, let's at least talk about our first film. What was really weird about Dangerous Touch was that I think for 10 years, Jules and I would just kind of randomly talk about this Lou Diamond Phillips film and never actually do any research. And it felt like a mystery. Like we'd never be able to figure this out. We'd never be able to find this. And it never occurred to us to just go to IMDb and find the culprit throughout the whole thing. So Dangerous Touch was important to us. I'm really glad, Jason, that you brought Amanda and the Alien, another very important film, to you. And now you've brought another formative film, Big Man on Campus. I'm sure we will be utterly respectful to it.
I'm not. No promises.
Okay.
He speaks for no one but himself.
Can we say that right now that Big Man on Campus is a loosey-goosey loose adaptation of Hunchback of Notre Dame?
Yes.
All right. As in, there is a hunchback and he lives in a clock tower. All right. Are we all, can we agree on these facts? I know that in modern America, people do facts that we agree on exist based on our political or social beliefs. And it seems like there's no truth anymore. Can we agree on the fact that there's a hunchback in this film and he lives in a clock tower?
I agree on both of those hard facts that have been proven by the viewing of this movie.
Okay.
Ian,
right.
I don't know. Like whether we agree on it or not, it still happened.
See, sometimes it doesn't feel like we live in.
I don't know, Ian. I got a lot of questions about that clock.
Do we all agree that Han Solo was in Star Wars? I mean,
if you look at the windows in the set for the clock tower, they're pointed arch Gothic ones, but it's clearly a Romanesque campus. So I don't.
No.
Was he really in the clock tower? Was that what was he on?
Oh, that killed that. That's what killed you. That's what killed this movie for you, Jules.
Yes, that was where I just threw the remote across the room and walked away.
I wouldn't doubt that that's actually true. No, not the set design. I completely trust that. But I can imagine Jules at his computer, headphones on, watching the movie, pulling off the headphones and going, "Well, I'm fucking done with this now." Those arch towers did not match that window and motherfucking thing. Okay, there was a hunchback.
Before we get into we get into it, can I just tell you a really quick funny story?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
When you're done drinking your water.
I'm a professional.
We used to do this on Zoom before we were using StreamYard, which has been awesome. And thank you, Johnny Ganache, if you ever listen to this, for hooking us up with this. We used to do it on Zoom. And one of the episodes I thought I would be funny, and instead of John, I wrote John Nasty as my name. Like, hey everybody, look, my name's John Nasty. And I don't even think anybody noticed or anybody cared. All right, fast forward it to Friday when I'm getting on a meeting with a client that I'm trying to resolve their LMS issues, and they're using Zoom. And for whatever God-fucking reason, and if you don't believe me, I took a screenshot of it. Everybody's up in their name, and I'm there as fucking John Nasty. And it was the hardest thing to change their name. It was not anything you can just click on your name and do it. You had to go into an account thing. I had to go into an account and then change it. And I mean, this is 20 minutes of I'm watching YouTube videos as I'm going through this meeting. On how to change my fucking name. I had to log out and log back in, and I came back in, and everybody started clapping. But anyways,
where are we in the world right now?
Mm-hmm.
Where are we in the world right now?
I hate Zoom so much.
Yeah, where we all have these nostalgic early Zoom memory conversations from 12 months ago. We're like, remember the early days of Zoom with John Nasty? Oh, I remember that. We're having.
You know what the client? The client goes. Well, at least you're not a cat. Did you see that meme that was going around with it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd so much rather be a fucking cat.
So here we are. This film, Big Man on Campus, opens with I don't know why. I found this shot disturbing. It's a rear shot of the hunchback jumping on the ledge of the building while looking at a telescope that is
before that news was interviewing people, right?
Oh yeah. Okay, so we open with this weird news footage of a reporter going around and saying, "Hey, have you heard about the beast on campus?" the creature, the alien, the monster that lives on campus going to random people. Meanwhile, while they're being asked about this, you cut to the hunchback who's jumping on the ledge, has a telescope, which is pointed down through his legs, and it just looked weirdly suggestive. Am I the only one who picked up on that? I just thought the shot was really weird.
No, it's definitely suggestive.
It was gross.
It had already lost my interest, so I was not paying the close attention.
Yeah, me too.
The first 30 seconds.
I didn't think of it like that before, but I do now that you mentioned it.
It's a phallic object that's hanging down between his legs, and you find out it's a telescope. But at first I thought maybe it was a penis pump, but that's just where my mind went. So
why, Ray?
Why is that, Ray?
Why is that the first place?
Penis pump.
You're the
What's
one
a penis pump?
All right.
I've heard of them on. I've heard of the penis pump. I've never seen one in action.
Friends.
I'd like to know.
Friends
We've all gotten
friends.
real quiet there, and is it because we all are just hiding different pump devices, and we just didn't really pay attention to ourselves? And I feel really called out on the internet by Ray right now. So I'm gonna.
Why they don't really work, do they, Ray?
Yeah.
I think it's better to take Viagra or horny goat weed tea from what I read.
So for anyone who needs enlargement, please
Just
message
more blood
Ray.
flow, more
Ray
blood
has
flow.
Ray has plenty of links that he can send to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much into naturopathic medicine and adaptogens right now.
Like Viagra, yeah.
I mean, but Viagra is for like the mainstream. But if you want a more holistic approach, I can definitely help you. Or there's always Viagra, because I mean, there's no regulation on men's reproductive health. Go ahead and get your Viagra, guys. Nothing's stopping you.
Oh, this just got even more real.
It's Women's Day. It's Women's Week, I guess. Let's
I like what John just said. I guess.
Right? No, it's not Women's Week. It was Women's Day the other day. But I don't know. Maybe Ray's mad at us and she wants to. There's 4 guys there. And
Who's mad at you, John?
I don't know. It's
Mad at
6
you.
months or something.
Why? Well, you're in a safe space if you want to vent about me or whatever, about penis pumps in general. This is where you do it. I mean, if not here, where else? I mean, we'll get back to the movie, everybody.
I can't stay mad at you, John. I can't stay mad at you.
Oh, you softy.
Well, yeah, because I don't have a penis pump right now.
Well, she doesn't have any penis pumps because she's out of stock. If anyone is looking to order a penis
she
pump,
doesn't have a penis. Oh!
Okay,
I got more balls than you'll ever have, John.
Oh!
All right, we're getting back to this. We're getting back on this. So now,
Where did we get off track there?
Reporters, journalists are interviewing people on this campus. Do they ever say what this college is, or is it just generic California college? They
Never say what it is.
It's university something. So anyway,
I'm like the one.
I think it's supposed to be UCLA. That's why my name is Ray of UCLA.
Right, it's implied, but it's not UCLA.
Yeah,
never said. That. Yeah.
Okay,
but unlike Super Mario Brothers, where for some reason NYU paid to be where the woman was from or something. It was very bizarre because it was actually NYU.
Okay,
but I don't mean to bring it back to
Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, you can always bring it back there, man.
That was Ray's favorite movie.
Bring it back, bro.
But now,
as a child, I liked it. Yeah.
So while people are being interviewed, the last group of people being interviewed, well, one is a man named Alex and his girlfriend, Kathy. Now, I'm going to describe Alex right here. Alex annoys the hell out of me. Now this actor, Alex, and he's a young, kind of yuppie-ish looking guy. He's played by Corey Parker, who's actually not a bad actor. If you want to see a good performance by Corey Parker, please look at Biloxi Blues. He does a good job in that film.
Yes.
He plays Epstein in Biloxi Blues. Yeah, he was good, right? You remember that character in that movie, Jason?
That's a very good movie.
Yeah, very good movie, good play. Corey Parker's good in that, but here...
Oh, that's right, because Paul Simon wrote that as a play first, and it was adapted into a movie, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So now...
Paul Simon?
Corey Parker...
Wrote Biloxi Blues.
Really?
Or if it wasn't... Who? It was...
No, it's the...
folk singer wrote Biloxi Blues.
Well, you guys look that up. I'm moving on here.
Arlo Guthrie.
Phil Oates.
Neil Simon.
Joan Baez.
Okay, that makes more sense.
That makes more sense.
So, all right. Alex is being interviewed by local television.
Simon out there
Alex
writing
is Jules, John,
yes.
Everybody. I want to ask this question: did anyone else get from Alex poor man's low rent Paul Reiser?
Yeah, I could see that.
Like he's got the to describe this character. He's sardonic.
Right.
And everything's a joke, and it's all a deadpan joke. And I was annoyed throughout all of it. And I think I was annoyed throughout all of it because I've seen that exact character done way better. And where have I seen that? It's Paul Reiser in every film he's ever done, in every bit of stand-up he's ever done. If you want to see...
What came to mind for me was when I saw this, I thought to myself, Joss Whedon saw this movie in 1989 and put this character in everything he did for the next 30 years.
For me, it came to, if you want to see these exact same type of one-liners and joke a minute, just annoyed joke a minute dialogue, look to the film Diner. Diner with Kevin Bacon and Mickey Rooney and Paul Reiser. And it's the exact same character done far, far better. And I think that was my sad thing watching the movie. I'm just like, I'd rather be watching actual Paul Reiser than fake young second generation Paul Reiser. That was my problem. So anyway, mini Paul Reiser is being interviewed by the reporter, and he says, "Well, you don't want to talk to me. You want to talk to my girlfriend. Here's my girlfriend. Isn't she lovely? Blah 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 blah." And they're talky, and they talk for like 45 seconds to 2 minutes to this reporter. And this is something that annoys me. This happens throughout the movie, and maybe it's because I used to work in television news. That's not the way live reporting works. You don't get to just sit and talk to the reporter and make jokes for as long as you want. That's just not the way the news works. When they start doing that, they cut the camera and then they go somewhere else and interview someone else. You don't get to just be a jackass on camera for as long as you want. And that happens all the time in this movie. So, but one of the things that it sets up is that there is a monster on campus and that there is a Renaissance fair on campus for no reason. They just got a Renaissance fair going on.
They kind of allude to the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah. Do they even mention that? Maybe, but like... I mean,
just the guy. We've got to describe the main guy we're talking about. He's a hunchback. The opening scene, he's in a clock tower. I mean, he is a very poor... It's very clearly an attempt of some sort of knockoff of Notre Dame.
Yeah. What I found remarkable was somebody was credited for being like creature designed by so-and-so. When it's like, it's just literally the guy with like pillow stuffed in him. I mean,
he looks like a character. Me and my brother used to do that as children.
Yeah. Yeah. It was exactly that.
Walk around and be like, pretend to be like Dracula's Renfield or something.
Yeah.
Like,
so I'm skipping ahead. I'm skipping ahead here, but when there's the shower scene, I thought for sure, oh, now we're going to see like the creature work or something, and there was no creature.
No,
it's like, why do you keep your clothes on in the shower? It's because it's just pillows. That's why.
And it's not the pillows like on his back and his belly, like they've got pillows in his sleeves.
Yeah.
Everything. So now, young Paul Reiser. That's just what I'm going to call it. Mini Paul Reiser and Kathy are walking around the Renaissance Fair. And just before this, young Paul Reiser has had a meeting with the Dean of Students, who says, young Paul Reiser, you are just a terrible student. The only thing that you excel at is not excelling. Or, oh no, the only thing you perform well at is underperforming. And he goes, well, I guess so. And they're like, okay, well, you
rewrote that line properly. It was clumsy, but you wrote it the way you would have written it in a second draft.
What would you remember what it was?
No, I don't, but I remember being like, why did you just need to just think about that line for 10 seconds and then rewrite it because it would have made more sense. And that's what you did in your head here when relating the film. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, that is, by the way, everyone, that in this podcast, we refer to that as pulling a Ray, where you try to recreate the film in your head to make more sense than it did in reality. But what we establish here is that if he does not get a B average at the end of this semester, he will flunk out of school. So that's also not quite the way college works, but we're going to move on from there. You don't usually get pulled into the dean's office and given ultimatums. Usually it's, well, do you want to take the semester off or whatever? But anyway, we got this ultimatum. B average or he's hitting the bricks, and he's going to have to go home to New Jersey to work in his family's furniture store, which is apparently a fate worse than death. Mini Paul Reiser does not want to do this, and he complains to his girlfriend Kathy endlessly while they are walking through this really, really badly put together Renaissance fair. Like, I will admit, I've been to more. Who's been to a Renaissance fair?
I have.
Okay. I'm not surprised Jules has not. That's way,
least surprising thing I've.
But Jason, you've never been to a Renaissance fair?
No.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you right now, a Renaissance fair, even the really low budget ones, are more Renaissance-y than throwing a bunch of straw on the ground and giving some people some pirate shirts. Because that's what the scene is. There's some straw on the ground, some pirate shirts on the extras, and not all of the extras. A few of the extras. And now you have your Renaissance fair.
Speaking of the extras, was this movie produced by like the Extras Union or something? Because they've got tons of extras all the goddamn time. Which is what's unique for like what you would think would just be a low budget crappy movie. There's just hundreds of people just running around all the time.
It's a college campus. They probably had to make it seem like it's busy and school's in session.
Like any other movie that we saw would not be able to pull that off. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying they've obviously got some sort of like deal on extras or something.
Yeah, and then that weekend they had a good excuse to not have any extras. The whole town was on shutdown.
Well, oh my God, that's okay. I'm going to bring up a mini filmmaking fact right here. A thing that all of us working on our car film, The Stolen Mile, have dealt with, which is the amount of people it takes to get into a frame and make it look crowded is gigantic. You need a lot of people. Like if you're in a small parking lot and if you have 150 people, that's nothing. Like 100 people.
How many people did you have in that scene?
Oh, in our scene? Like the one at the big party scene? I think we have less than like 40 people. And we're using camera technique to get them. Jules is trying every trick in the book to make this look there, to make it look full. And you can see this in Dead Weekend because they do not have enough extras. They don't have enough cops. They don't have enough strippers. They don't have enough gang members. It's always like 14 people on the screen, and it looks dead. And they got the correct amount of extras in this film for every scene. And one of them is the stupid Renaissance fair scene. And so they're walking around the Renaissance fair, and there's some jock, and Mini Paul Reiser bumps into him. And the guy's like, oh, don't bump into me. Oh, whatever. And Paul Reiser makes a joke. I will not quote any joke Mini Paul Reiser makes in this film.
None of them are memorable. None of them are memorable.
Yeah, they're.
Although I wanted to point out that Gonarso has found our meal ticket here.
Yeah.
Looking up the producer, who is apparently an Israeli billionaire who has been involved in over 130 movies.
Oh, well.
Yeah,
well
I didn't know that. I
catalog,
definitely recognized the name. Like, I know I've seen that name a lot of times.
Well, Jason, you've seen it a lot on Showtime at the beginning of every film you watched when you were in middle school.
So if anybody listening or watching knows Arnon Milchan,
We want him on the show.
Arnon
we need to talk with this guy.
And if in the sad possibility that he is no longer alive, any relative of his will do.
Because so, keep the family legacy alive.
So Paul Reiser 2 Electric Boogaloo bumps into a jock who gets mad at him, and then he bumps into him again and spills like his Renaissance-y drink all over him. And then he starts beating, and so then the jock starts beating up Paul Reiser too. Kathy tries to get in and save her boyfriend and keeps getting shoved away. Meanwhile, the hunchback up in the tower is getting very, very frisky. He's looking down. He's like, no, Kathy, no, Kathy. And then he swings down. Does he swing down?
Yes,
like
he has a very. I want to just say he has a very Miley Cyrus. Well, she's totally copying him. Actually, moment where he swings down from the tower, and I think this is a good representation of his social and maybe even eventually sexual awakening.
Ray was falling for this dude. I'll tell you that right now.
It kind of reminds me of an ex.
I'm going to tell you who else was falling with this man. America. There were T-shirts everywhere. There was merchandise. No, of course, this is not true. No one saw this movie
except for me.
Other than Jason.
Jason was raised by this movie. I didn't just see it.
So the hunchback comes down, beats up the jock, beats up another guy, and keeps gesturing to Kathy, Kathy, and holding out his arms, and she's like, F no, I'm not going with you. And then security comes around, he's getting in fights, someone takes a 2x4, smacks him on the back, it was pretty actually violent. And then he's subdued. Now, this heroism has warmed the heart of Kathy, who really feels for this freak of nature. And so they decide to go to his
This is, again, Ian filling in the blanks here, because that happens is just like a jump cut character kind of thing. It's just 1 minute she's like, who is this guy? And the next minute she's in court being like, this guy's great. Okay. So I'm just, yeah.
All right, that's a good point. They go to the courtroom and there is a trial. And in this trial, the what's up in the air is whether they are going to put this hunchback, freak of nature, into an institution, which I have to say, at this point, sounds like a pretty decent solution. As in, this is someone. No, this is someone who needs help. This is someone who desperately needs help.
I mean, right? You're not wrong.
You probably shouldn't, as a therapy solution, lock him back in his clock tower with young Paul Reiser. Spoiler alert, everybody! That's what's gonna happen. State mandated. That's what's gonna happen.
Because they're in a custody battle over an adult man.
So you then have Dr. Fisk, who's a competent young psychologist who said this man is a danger. He's obviously been away from society, possibly his whole life. Can't speak English. Is violent, and should be institutionalized for his own good.
He's definitely a good anthropology experiment for sure.
Yeah, but I got to say, at this moment in time, I agree with Dr. Fisk. I think that's a valid.
You're remembering the name? That's the actual name of the.
That is the character's name, Dr. Fisk.
Okay.
So.
Well, he hasn't learned, he doesn't know the full English language, so.
Yeah, and that was one of their points.
Because
he can't even speak English. All he does is copy what the other person is saying. So, if someone says, hello, then he goes, hello, and so on and so forth like that. There is a backstory, Carol. We are going to get to it. Now, and so the judge kind of just agrees. John Doe, the hunchback, needs to get put into a institution. Gennarso just made a point. The writer, Alan Katz, teaches writing at UCLA Extension Writers Program at Lawrence University in Appleton, in Washington? Wisconsin.
Alan Katz he's the actor who plays the main character, the hunchback.
Yes.
He has an actually impressive resume as a writer.
Yes,
and producer of TV.
He's produced MASH, Roseanne. I mean,
Blossom.
Alan Katz has worked, and Narso, you're kind of taking us to the end of this, and this is one of the things that's hard for me because I don't like this movie, but I don't want to just destroy it because, like, this was
God. Every week there's not, the only one you really hated was Neil Breen and
Seagal.
And I'll be honest with you. Here's a spoiler alert. I'm picking this week, and I was 99% sure on what I was going to pick. Now I'm thinking about going for another Neil Breen movie. But carry on.
Sure.
Wow.
No.
My turn to pick?
You deserve it.
Isn't it my turn to pick?
God, there's nothing but hate in your heart, John. Like, here's the point. I was so sad when I looked and I realized that the hunchback is played by Alan Katz, by the writer of the film. And what made me sad about that is, like, oh God, this was this guy's dream. Like, he worked so hard on this. He worked up this. It was probably a play off Broadway. and when they made this movie, he said, "There's only one man that I can trust to portray the hunchback, and that is me."
No one else can do the gibberish like he did.
Oh my goodness! Like, I have no illusions to the quality of myself as a writer or director. But I would be really sad if Big Man on Campus was my big artistic dream.
Well,
it's the only
he started off. I looked him up too, just being like, "What is going on here?" His first writing gig was Laugh-In, which I think explains a lot of what's going on here. This is a guy who did very loose form, surreal sketch comedy, coming up with what is essentially a sketch and stretching it out.
Yeah. So, John, no, I don't have a problem bashing this movie, and I don't like this movie. I just wish this movie wasn't his dream. I wish this movie was just a crappy thing.
You say I have hate in my heart. You have no hate in your heart for anything. It's like,
no, John, you're wrong. You just haven't figured me out.
You like fucking cop rock, which everybody hates. I mean, Mother Teresa fucking hates cop rock. You're like,
man.
I have a soft spot for cop rock. Come on.
like, why do you? Okay.
The only thing you hate is Neil Breen. That's the only thing you've hated.
No,
that's the only thing you've hated. That's it. Tell me what else you've hated. We're what 11?
Seagal?
No, there was parts of that movie you liked.
I like the explosion.
Yeah.
No.
Name one thing you liked about the Neil Breen movie. Name one thing you liked about the Neil Breen movie.
Nothing. I like nothing.
So you like Steven Seagal more than Neil Breen. You like Steven Seagal's movies more than Neil Breen.
Of course.
That could have been the nice thing that he said about him earlier.
Sure. There you go. Steven Seagal films are theoretically better than Neil. Hey, that movie had Billy Bob Thornton in it, being kind of funny.
Well, I hope you never have to watch another Neil Breen movie ever again, or next week, or whatever.
Oh God, John.
Yeah. I have a previous engagement for next Tuesday.
Ray has COVID.
You're going
There's no
nothing.
way she's going to be able to do it.
Okay, John. We'll get back to this, but let's get back to our movie. So, at this point, the judge is about to send John Doe, the hunchback, off to an institution. And it's been clear that John Doe cannot speak English. He just repeats everything everyone says. And so Dr. Fisk, who's really, really mean to him on the stand, kind of goes up and says, John Doe, are you a wise man or an idiot? And he goes, idiot. And everyone laughs at him because he just mimics the last thing he says. And so the judge is signing the papers. And I didn't know that's what judges do in the courtroom.
Okay, let's get to the thing that happens in this movie a lot, which is that's not the way that this works. Like you were saying, this is not the way college works. This is not the way. Blah, blah, blah. So throughout the trial, despite the fact that I thought I was losing my mind because I was like, why isn't the lawyer making the objections? She was sitting with the prosecutor, the psychiatrist lady. Sure. What was her name again?
Dr. Fisk.
Dr. Fisk was sitting with the prosecutor. She was constantly standing up and objecting to things. I'm just like, what is happening here? I'm like, is she the lawyer? I don't understand what's happening. I thought she was a psychiatrist. And then, of course, later we find out that she is. So, yes. And then the judge is like signing the papers or something. And then
so as he's leaving, yes. Dr. Fisk says goodbye, and then John Doe says goodbye, and then he gets up and he says, goodbye, Judge Ferguson. And then Judge Ferguson is like, holy John!
Yeah, just
outside the courtroom.
Psych, that's not what I ruled. I'm just going to just undo it now.
Yeah, so outside you have the reporter saying, and after that display, Judge Ferguson tore up the signed paperwork, and John Doe is a free man. And so, also, was Tom Skerritt in this particular scene?
He was in the background, wasn't he?
Was he there? Okay, because at this point, what we realize is something we should always realize in every one of these movies, and it's I know it's a fact of life, but I just need to say it. Apparently, actors need to eat. You know. Actors need to make some.
So wait a second. Can't actors just eat for free at the restaurant they work at?
I would. And no, John, they just get a discount on that.
But if a meal is sent back, they get that for free, right?
Oh yes, absolutely. Okay. But we know that actors got to make that paycheck because Tom motherfucking Skerritt is in this movie. Tom Skerritt, the veteran of the Robert Altman film MASH, and in one of my top 5 films of all time, Alien. This is Tom Skerritt, an American treasure, who apparently needed a paycheck in this movie. So Tom Skerritt's in this movie. He plays the head of the psychology department at UCLA or at the college.
Right.
So he takes an interest in this case and says, I would like to study John Doe and find out everything about it for science. And he consults with the 2 people who the court has apparently released him to, which is Paul Reiser wannabe and Kathy. Because that's the way the world works. Like, they're taking care of him now. They're driving in cabs with him and he's being weird. And so they get to the campus now, and Tom Skerritt makes a proposal. First of all, let's go find his home. And so they find his home. It's in the clock tower, and it's a very elaborate set. Jules, what did you think about the set?
It's not well done at all. I mean, it's obviously one of the things is that like the set builders back then were really good. You know, in like 1989, they really knew what they were doing. They really took it seriously. They did not in this case. It was big. It was big, and but yeah, it was. Yeah,
there's a spiral staircase.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of garbage and a bunch of ropes everywhere.
Right,
and that's what you got. And he's going around going, Mooka, Mooka, Mooka. And they're like, what the hell? And then they find that Mooka is a rat. It's his pet rat. And Kathy is just tickled pink by this. She's like, Mooka's a rat. And it's like, oh, okay. Got it. All right. And so then Tom Skerritt says someone needs to live here with John Doe to keep an eye on him and record what's happening. And Kathy says, I will do it. And then he says, no, it should be a male role model. I'm not sure why, but that's what psychologist Tom Skerritt says. And they all look to half-price Paul Reiser. And he says,
oh, man. Poor Paul Reiser.
No, I don't want to do this. And I have to say legitimately, he's saying, I don't want to move into a clock tower with a hunchback who has never been part of society and is violent. I think that is a completely reasonable request. And his girlfriend is like, oh, but I'll be grateful to you. And he's like, that's awesome, but no. And he's like, and what can I do? I mean, I've got to study I have to get this B average or they're going to kick me out of college. So what am I going to do? And so Tom Skerritt, because he is amoral, says, oh, well, I'll talk to all your college professors. I think I can get them to just use this as an independent study and you'll get your average. And he says, really, you'll do that? And he says, yeah, at some point. Like, it's made, I don't know why they did this. They made it really clear that Tom Skerritt was in no way going to do this. And Mini Paul Reiser is really into this idea. He's like, really? You're going to do this? You're going to talk to my professors? This is so great. And Tom Skerritt's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, why not? I guess. I don't know why they decided to do that. Like,
I don't know why they decided to have him say, no, I'm not going to do it, and then go to the next scene and then have him do it. I don't know. a lot of strange choices. I mean,
and
it's almost like this movie wasn't really well thought out.
Really.
I mean, believe it or not.
So we move on, and I'm going to apologize to everybody. The kind of middle portion of the film here, I get a little fuzzy on because I fell asleep. But I'm going to do my best. I kind of got the gist.
Mm-hmm.
So Paul Reiser moves into the clock tower, and by move in, they bring his bags and they bring a college dorm bed, and they jam it up into a corner of the clock tower. And he goes up on the bed and he complains, I have no blankets or sheets or pillows. That never gets addressed.
Yeah.
It never I'm only bringing it up because he brought it up. He brought it up that he has no blankets or sheets or a pillow. And then he goes.
Well, he is a pillow man.
He's like, oh, yo is me. I mean, they could have just pulled the pillows out of the hunchback's shirt. But, oh, yeah. That was a bad joke. That was about on the level of all the jokes within this film. And so, guys, fill me in for about the next 15 to 20 minutes. It's wackiness on campus, right? It's
well, then they bring him to the like weird observation chamber.
Oh yeah,
I think is what's next.
They lock him in a padded room.
Yeah.
And watch him just be weird for like 20 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
As he just kind of bounces around and makes weird sounds and everything like that. They set him up with a tutor. That is Dr. Gerard, Dr. Diane Gerard, played by Cindy Williams, who
I really relate to her in this film.
Because Ray, can you describe the relationship early on? What the type of educational relationship that Dr. Gerard has with John Doe?
Well, she definitely has inappropriate boundaries, we'll say. Pretty sure she definitely puts, crosses some line of student conduct with professionals. But she's an extremely attractive, polished-looking woman that, empathizes with our with our main protagonist.
She, to begin with, she has a very professional relationship, teaching him basic words, teaching him social skills,
Yes.
and it's completely above board. It's completely above board.
Which she
And
does by
John Doe-
speaking very slowly. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just
It's
being kind of like,
hello.
hello. That's
I
what
mean,
they
I
teach
think-
you.
I think that this like can help in a lot of relationships, you know.
Speaking very slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that, Ray?
Very clearly,
Slowly.
concisely, you know,
Help
waiting for the
with-
other person to
What?
take their turn speaking.
Huh?
What?
You know, I think that's
Huh?
really helpful for this podcast.
Anyways, Ian, what were you saying?
What was I saying?
No, yeah,
I was saying I
It's
slept
like-
through the part. So
yeah.
no. There's bonding. There's John Doe's being weird. Yada yada yada. Let's assume something happened. Move on to. They bring John Doe over to a observation board where it's a bunch of psychologists are here and they want to know John Doe's progress. And by the way, in this scene, we have our second weekly appearance by Star Trek Deep Space Nine actor Armin Shimmerman.
That's right.
Quark's Armin Shimmerman. He was in Cop Rock, and he plays on the screen right now.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
You guys are such nerds. I swear to God. I had no
Well,
idea.
the fact that I can't notice Armin Shimmerman in like a quarter-second shot, like that's
John, literally like the weirdest looking dude, has been in the same thing for 2 weeks and you didn't notice. That's what's going on here.
and
I don't mean to be mean to Armin. I'm sorry.
No, I know. Sorry,
Armin.
Armin.
he's an American treasure. But also, I'd like to know. I want. Why did they name this? His character's named Dr. Oberlander. Dr. Oberlander never says a line. He never says anything. He just looks at John Doe and makes a weird face. But yet
he does. No. He was in a previous scene for a second and he said something. I don't remember what.
Okay.
He was. So you were
I just want to note that he's not Doctor Number 3. He's not Psych Professor A or B or C. He is Dr. Oberlander, which means there's a backstory and there's a life. There's something behind this character. If you want to know it, ask Armin Shimmerman.
Yeah,
I'm sure
we should.
We'll remember. So in this scene, Dr. Gerard comes in at the direction of Tom Skerritt and demonstrates the work. The work is pretty extensive. John Doe can now name objects like this is a chair, this is a banana, this is a phone. And he makes little jokes like, he says what they're for. You sit in chair, you call on phone.
Well, that's just it. This is. I have to object here because you fell asleep during one of the most jarring transitions that ever there was.
Oh, okay.
He went from being the oaf who can just repeat words and was a complete idiot to that, just like that. Yeah. I mean that and like there was no transition. There was nothing else. It just happened.
There are 3 stages of John Doe in this film. There is the animal, there is the normal human being with a speech impediment, and then there is the super genius. Those are the 3 stages. We've gotten to normal human being. And by the way, this is actually kind of a familiar thing in comic books. For all of the years, very few people actually kind of figured out how to write the Incredible Hulk. And so you would have that would happen in comics all the time, where like Hulk would be fighting a bunch of military people going, Hulk smash, Hulk scared, stay away, Hulk, and everything like that. And it would end with Hulk saying, my heart is saddened that you will not leave me in peace. I, the Hulk, only want to enjoy life. I'm serious. There were so many comics that were like that, and that's what this felt like to me.
I never thought you would actually quote the Hulk. We've finally come to you quoting the Hulk, the most unquotable character
Hulk
ever.
In the 70s, man, it's like that all the time. And that's what it felt like here. So,
well, let me make a huge objection here about what's going on in this movie and the rest of it. I don't know if you've seen some of these kids who are on the internet, who are like on YouTube or the rest of it, who grow up with YouTube or television. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They learn all of English from television alone. Okay? I just want to say that. I'd be like, they do not sit around watching television, which he had in the clock tower. Okay?
Yeah.
And they learned all of English. They learned perfect grammar. They learned all of the idioms, all of the subtleties. You cannot tell them from us, and they can be anywhere on Earth. Okay? and this, and then he just makes it so I don't know what our Hunchback's problem is what I'm saying. Because he starts off just being an idiot, and then he's a genius, but he still talks like an idiot. I don't know what's going on.
I think they suggest that he read. He just hadn't really express himself vocally. And actually, I kind of have that a little bit because I grew up
in the clock tower.
No, I mean I just grew up how can I say this without insulting anyone? I grew up reading books that maybe other people, I don't know. I just have a larger vocabulary, like a written vocabulary than.
I'd like to unpack that and just say that for everyone on the internet, Ray just accused all of us of being illiterate. I can read. While I may not be able to read, Ray, I can read between the lines.
No. I'm just saying, like, I was a lonely child, and it was I would read a lot to feel not alone and feel empathy that I felt lacked in my upbringing. And so sometimes I'll say words incorrectly because I've read them but not really spoken them because I'm surrounded by fucking idiots, including on this podcast.
That is a fair point, Ray. But that was not our Hunchback's problem.
No, but I think
it was not.
That's what's happening because he was saying that he had read like Shakespeare and I'm not adding this time. I swear.
Wait a second. No. I'm going to come back to that because I think once again you're adding yourself there. I'm not sure.
I'm not.
But hold on. So at this point, it's clear that John Doe is doing pretty good and that he's an actual human being and he has thoughts and feelings. Now, here's the thing that bugged the hell out of me. So he's going through, he's naming all body parts. Like he's doing, this is my eye, this is my nose, this is my mouth, these are my knees. And so at some point, he points to his penis and says, what is this body part? In a completely innocent, I have a 4-year-old, like in a completely innocent, no value judgment thingy, like, what is this? And everyone loses their mind. Like, every doctor is like, oh my God. Oh, that is shocking. That is shocking. It reminds me of when I was in college, not this college. When I was in college, I had a
you were in college and there was a weird guy in the clock tower.
I was in college with a hunchback. Let me tell you about how things went down.
Back when I was hanging out with this hunchback, Andy Wong, and sorry, that's a deep cut from this series. Go back and watch Mystery Date. But anyway, when I was in college, I was in a psychology class, and there was a adjunct professor, and every time something about sex came up, she would become flush and stutter. Like there was this when she's talking about Freud, she's like, and Freud's mother called him her golden Siggy. and I was talking to another member of the class who was an actual psychology student, and she's like, man, if this psychology professor can't get through talking about sex without breaking out in a full body blush, she is not going to do well. And I'm like, these are anthropologists and psychologists. And every time something slightly tawdry comes up, they lose their minds. Like, who are these people?
Yeah, they're all a little sexually repressed, I think, in this film.
And
all right, so Ganarzo's bringing up the fact that he's using a made-up language.
Okay.
That's fine, but that's not what they were representing there. They were representing a complete unfamiliarity with English and the semantic content we're in. Like, he didn't understand what anything was. And later on, they undermined that by having him read all this, having already read all this stuff, and so he knew everything and watched television and the rest of it.
Wait. Is that an actual true plot that he had been reading prior to all of this education? Because my understanding was that he starts reading after it. Now,
they don't really make it clear in terms of the reading, but what I'm saying, it's implied that he's watching television. And I'm saying that that's enough. He should have some concept of what the fuck is going on.
Okay.
That's my only point.
Can we move on to the volleyball game? Can we move on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, like, right before that, and again, I fell asleep through this part. I can't stress that enough. But apparently, Kathy really comes on to Mini Paul Reiser, and she's like, "I'm so proud of the work you've been doing with John Doe. You're my man. Let's have a romantic evening." And so then this is when I woke up, everybody. So I'm fairly
back in the game
from this point going on. So so Paul Reiser Jr. is up in the clock tower, and he's trying to get out. And every time he tries to leave, because John Doe is asleep, the Hunchback will stop him and go, "You back to bed." We go back to bed. He's like, "Fine," and he goes back to bed, and then he gets out. And that's when something about the set really bothered me, which is part of the floor. There is no floor. There's just planks, a lattice work of planks. And we have to assume 100-foot drop under it. And Mini Paul Reiser is walking over that every day. And it looked dangerous. Really, really dangerous. And I got scared.
They had a Star Wars level of environmental hazards up there, huh?
But somehow he doesn't die. And eventually Mini Paul Reiser gets the hint. I can't do this. John Doe's not going to let me. I'm just going to go back to bed. So he goes to bed. Oh, his romantic schemes are foiled. So the next day they've taken John Doe over to the volleyball game, and Kathy's like, "Where were you, Paul Reiser? I had everything ready. I had romantic candles. I had massage oil." And he's like, "You're killing me. You're killing me." And so then he's like, "Let's get out of here just for a second." And she's like, "We can't leave John Doe." He's like, "He's fine. He's having the time of his life. Let's go make out." Okay. So Kathy goes out to get some drinks, to get some soda. And John Doe's like, "Well, where'd Kathy go?" He's like, "Don't worry. She's just going to go get some food. I'm going to go with her. You stay here. Don't throw the ball." He's like, "Don't bounce the ball. Don't throw ball." Okay, fine. So he goes off. And so the volleyball game's happening, and a ball throws, and it falls in John Doe's lap, and he catches it. And so the guy, the captain of the volleyball team, is like, "Throw me the ball." And he's like, "No throw ball. No, throw me the ball. Don't throw ball." And then the entire volleyball team decides to beat the shit out of him. I think they have another ball. Like, I if the ball had gone into the stand and like some kid had caught it and refused to give the ball back, I don't think the game stops.
The psychology department took all the budget away from the athletic department.
So then there's a fight. There's a big old fight. The whole court clears. They chase John Doe. And okay, before we get through here, I'd like to slip into an alternate reality, because there's an entirely other film that was supposed to happen at this point. It was supposed to happen. You guys tell me if I'm wrong. He caught the ball, and then he was supposed to spike the ball to the guy in a dramatic fashion that hit him and threw that volleyball player across the field, across the court. And then everyone went, oh my God, look at this hunchback. He's this amazing volleyball player. And then he plays volleyball for the rest of the movie, using his special hunchback skills to be a great volleyball player. Do we agree this was the other movie that was supposed to happen right now?
I still think it was supposed to be a football movie because it was supposed to be the same thing. A volleyball game, he catches the ball, and then the whole volleyball team chases him. And then somebody in the audience is like, interesting. Or the football coach or something, and then they do football. Because you can't do a hunchback volleyball movie.
Okay, but if
you can do a hunchback football movie.
Of the hunchback, and then he got up, threw them all off, and ran away while they tried to grab him.
Yes.
How did this not happen?
I don't know.
Every movie did this. Like, if Michael J. Fox turns into a werewolf, somehow it's now a basketball movie. Like, what in the world was Alan Katz thinking that he could defy God and not make this film the sports movie that it was supposed to be?
Will you settle down?
he really, But this is
ball. Where's my sports ball?
But this is all to essentially rely on the other 80s trope, which is two guys making a bet about a girl, which makes no sense in context. Because the bet they settle on, which is not for money, which is essentially dollar store Paul Reiser doing a bet that his girlfriend now will not be stolen away by a hunchback, which is not even a bet. I don't even, you know what I mean? It's like what?
Oh, but we're gonna get.
I don't even know what that is.
I mean, I think that we shouldn't hate on people who have hunchback. A lot of us are moving towards middle age, and we don't have the best posture. Okay. Also, I find that this
by the way, I believe that sound
is quite sexy. If you ask me, he's very primal.
Now, I'd like to know it is hard to hear Ray's sexual attraction to the hunchback because a puppy is licking John's mouth.
This puppy loves me more than Ray does.
Well, easily, yeah.
Now,
I'm just saying, essentially, the 80s construct
Come at me,
is
puppy.
Two guys who aren't dating a girl make a bet about a girl. You see, that makes sense. It does not make sense to be in a long-term committed relationship and then make a bet with a hunchback that's going to take her away. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't add up. That's all I'm saying.
That's where it's going to go, and it's going to go soon. But first, we have to have the only kind of emotional scene with John Doe, and it's where he's going to change his name, because after the volleyball game, he has to go and have his meeting with Tom Skerritt. Again, way out of everyone's league, Tom Skerritt. But Tom Skerritt's here getting his money. So John Doe is brought over to Tom Skerritt's office. And first, Tom Skerritt yells at Dollar Tree Paul Reiser.
Can we talk about how big Tom Skerritt's office is relative to the dean? The dean is like in a closet. Tom Skerritt has the Palace of Versailles. I don't understand what's going on there.
So in this office, though, he asks John Doe some really basic questions. And here's a problem that I have with, not just with this movie, but with anything, like making somebody who is smart seem smart is difficult. Like, I don't know what an actual psychologist would ask essentially someone who's been raised by wolves. Like, I don't know how someone would do it, but I think it would be a little more nuanced than, what do you remember about your past? I don't know. I would assume that a professional would have a less direct and more nuanced line of questioning. But Tom Skerritt essentially says, what do you remember about your past? How did you learn English? What do you remember about your mother? That's what he says. And John Doe's answer is, I remember my mother a little bit. She taught me English. I remember my dad a little bit. He was mad. He went out to get some cigarettes and never came back. My mom got sick and died. Some boys were kicking me and I ran away to the clock tower. The end.
Mm-hmm.
And then
history.
Yeah. And so then at the end, Tom Skerritt says, well, that's great. We should give you a name. What name do you want? And then he names just weird.
He says Judy Finkel. And
Yes.
and
William F. Buckley.
That
And
was the only beginning of a laugh I had throughout the movie because it was so random. It was like,
because he for whatever reason he started liking Masterpiece Theater. They referenced that earlier in the movie, and then later on he wanted to be William F. Buckley.
Yes. No. William F. Buckley isn't a Masterpiece Theater actor. He's a conservative icon. Friends with Ronald Reagan, but he is super into Masterpiece Theater, and this is now we've been transitioning into the John Doe is a genius area that's coming up now, and so he's trying to come up with names, and Tom Skerritt says no, you can't be named after a famous person. First of all, fucking Tom Skerritt, why do you get to decide that? If he wants to call himself William F. Buckley, then he can do it. What are you, the name now? Like, what's going on?
He can be William F. Buckley the Third.
And so John Doe settles on Bob Maluga Luga.
Which my sister and I thought was the most hilarious thing ever.
Yeah. And he makes it clear. And I'm glad he does this. He makes it clear that he says, 1 Maluga, 4 Lugas. And I'm like, oh, that's actually a good way for me to track it. Thank you. It's like liner notes.
Did you guys look at the IMDb for this? Like, his name pushes the column over.
He's very clear on it. And so now that he's Bob Maluga Luga, he's now a super genius. It's made very, very clear he's a super genius. It's also made clear that his reading ability is way beyond that of what it used to be, because when he's having his daily meeting with Dr. Gerard, he says, I don't like, she tries to get him a C-Spot run book, and he's like, I reading a book, and he lifts up a saucy novel called Unbearable Lust or something. And so he starts reading from it. And then Dr. Gerard becomes very flustered by the sexual content. And it's very clear that she wants to bang this hunchback, which, again, I'm not body shaming the hunchback. I mean, I think Alex Katz was body shaming hunchbacks. He was, as in, I'm going to make
Katz, not famous painter Alex.
I just I tend to like the creative types, tend to like people with strong features.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd be a good specimen for a figure drawing class. He's interesting to look at.
Okay. Hey,
everybody else can date a Ken doll.
Everybody, if you are going to be messaging Ray on OkCupid, you might want to throw some pillows in your shirt. Inside scoop right here.
It's a hot ticket.
Keep it weird and interesting for me, guys.
You heard it from us. You heard it from Ray. Now that we've established that Bob Maluga Luga is a super genius, and they established that he's really good. He's reading all the time, and he's quoting movies and poetry and everything. Now we get to the bet where Dollar Tree Paul Reiser is trying to study. Oh, because Tom Skerritt went back on his word.
Yeah.
He went back on his word. He runs into Bob and Paul Reiser and Kathy, and he says, "Well, you guys should be you guys should really be studying for finals." And then Mini-Me Paul Reiser says, "You mean Kathy should study for finals? I don't have finals." And Tom Skerritt says, "Yes, you do." He's like, "No, I don't. Bob is my finals. He's like, no, Paul Reiser, you've got to do finals. He's like, what are you talking about? I haven't studied class. I haven't been to any class. I don't even know what my classes are. And then Tom Skerritt just kind of brushes him off and says, you've got to do your finals. And he leaves. What?
Yeah, like
what is that?
Nothing.
Professional
John's
podcast.
probably getting sexy texts from his beautiful lady.
Well, then that's worth it.
Or from Ray.
My hands are right here.
Yeah, now they are. Where were they before?
Hands-free devices, everybody. But can we talk about for the fact that Tom Skerritt completely screwed over Mini Paul Reiser? Completely. What did you guys think of this scene? You didn't think anything of this scene? It bothered me.
Why?
It really bothered me. Like
Why did it
Tom
bother
Skerritt completely lied to him. He said, yes, you won't need to take any classes. And he totally goes back on it and then gaslights him about it later. He's like, no, you've got to take your finals. Like he puts Mini Paul Reiser in a really bad spot.
Well, he never says he says you don't have to do classes. He never says he didn't have to do the finals. He said he didn't have to do classes.
I distinctly remember Alex arguing. He was like, wait a minute. You said I don't have to take any tests. And Tom Skerritt was like, well, you do have to take the finals. And he's like, what the heck? You didn't tell me that.
I believe Tom Skerritt even like pours salt in the wound by saying, well, finals aren't tests. They're finals.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, fuck you, man. That is so cold-blooded. And so now Mini Paul Reiser has to study, and he says, it doesn't even brush it off as like, well, just study hard. Have a cram session or something like that. And this is a big deal. Remember, if Mini Paul Reiser doesn't get a B average, he's going to have to go to New Jersey and work at the furniture store, which is a fate worse than death.
Why?
So
what's wrong with the furniture? That's a respectable job.
It's not for him. He has bigger things on his horizon.
Okay.
I don't know what they are. We actually never get any indication.
Right. Yeah.
Young Paul Reiser has.
I think he is a psychology major. I think
Yeah, he's a psychology major.
He was a
Yeah,
psychology
whatever.
major.
that's why he's like taking this
Which they only-
Luga under his wing because he's a psychology major.
You missed like
Don't-
3 Lugas there, right?
But wait, don't psychology
He
majors?
should have just named himself Jeff Buckley. Then he would have been even sexier.
William F. Buckley. But
I know, but I like the name Jeff Buckley better.
I know you do. All the lights went out here. I don't know what's happening. But I'm about to get murdered.
Buckley is in the house.
But my computer is still on. Oddly.
You know, there was
But,
a scene like this, John. There was a scene like this in a movie called The Last Horror Movie.
Yeah, I know. But hey, don't most psychology majors end up working in a furniture factory anyways?
If they're lucky, John. In this
The
economy,
lucky ones, right?
if they're lucky. So anyway, we cut back to the clock tower, and Paul Reiser is trying to study. He's doing his best to study, and Bob just keeps making noise and everything. And so then Bob wants to help him study, and it's clear that Bob's much smarter than Mini Paul Reiser. And so then he says, Mini Paul Reiser, I want to talk to you about something. He's like, well, just talk to me. Well, I'm going to get Kathy. He's like, what do you mean? I'm going to get her. He's like, listen, Bob, we didn't tell you this because we didn't want to hurt your feelings. But Kathy and I have feelings for each other. And he's like, yeah. He's like, she's my girlfriend. I'm her boyfriend. And he goes, yeah, now. And it's like, whoa, man, that's pretty cold. He's like, yes, I am going to make Kathy mine. And he's like, listen, you think she's going to leave me for you? You're crazy, Bob. He's like, why? I am smart. I have good sense of humor. And I have excellent study skills, study habits. And he's like, that's low, man. That's low. And now they're kind of mad at each other.
I got a new puppy here. This This one's name is Ray.
John.
Can let the record show that Ray just filled with love right there.
Gosh.
This is good Ray, and then there's evil Ray. This is, you know how there was like a. Well, you guys know Star Trek. You know how there was like evil Spock.
Mm-hmm.
There's evil Ray, and there's good Ray. This is good Ray.
Okay.
Are you ready for Stingray?
Ooh.
Stang Ray.
Are we ready to move on with this picture?
Please.
So, then there are scenes of Bob trying to better himself. He's working out. He gets some weights. He gets and then he goes to his friend Dr. Gerard and says, "I want to learn how to do good nookie." This is where all the lines get blurred right here, everybody.
That's on that's coincidentally that's on Ray's profile, dating profile.
So Bob then pulls out a book like, How to Please Women. And he shows it to her and she's just all flushed. And he's like, and she's like, "Bob, do you even know how to date? Isn't this a little fast for you?" He's like, "Yes, I do." And he drags her on stage. He literally drags the woman on stage.
No, go away.
Like
Dr. Diane.
Pulls out a kettle drum, uses it as a table, and he does a mock date. He's like, "Here we are. You have dinner. Good appetizer. Blah, 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 blah." Then he pulls her up. He's like, "Now we dance. And we need better lighting." And he goes, he turns off the lights. There's a soft blue spotlight. And then they kind of start dancing. And
I was kind of disappointed that there wasn't a drum solo at this point. Like, I
there could have been a drum solo.
Like, that's what I would have wanted on my.
So Dr. Gerard, you can see she's got some mixed feelings here. Like she's not into it, but then she's getting into it. She's putting her hands on on Bob's body, and they're dancing.
John's body?
So I'm mixing up John Doe and Bob.
Well, at least someone wants to touch John's body.
That's
Ooh.
true. I know. Finally, somebody.
So they're having the romantic dance, and then he asks her what French kissing is. And very clinically, she says, "Well, it's a different kind of kiss where two people open their mouths and touch their tongues." And he's like, "Oh, will you do that with me?" And she's like, "No, because that's a horrible patient doctor line to cross." And then he's like, "Oh, is something wrong with Bob?" And she's like, "No. You know what, Bob? I will."
Get over here.
Whatever.
And so then they start.
Which is illegal.
The school is already really loose on the ethics of this whole Bob Maluga issue to begin with.
So then they're making out, and then they stop making it out, and Dr. Gerard is obviously lost in sexy dreaminess. And Bob says, "Are you having a good time?" And she's like, "Oh, yes, I'm having a very good time." And he's like, "Do you think Kathy have a good time?" She's like, "What? I do all this for Kathy. Do you think Kathy would like to French kiss?" And she goes, "Oh, I think you should ask her yourself, Bob." And she storms off. And Bob's like, "What? What?" Bob breaking hearts all over this joint. So then we cut to Bob is teaching a philosophy class.
This scene, I'm like, is this I was like, is this a dream sequence? What is going on here?
Speaking class, and he's doing his little public speaking speech.
Yeah, but we didn't establish that he was in a public speaking class. We didn't ever touch on the fact that he read all of philosophy apparently. Like it was just like out of nowhere. I'm like, this has to be like a dream sequence or something.
But Ray, kudos to you for picking up that it was a public speaking class. I had no idea. And so then Tom Skerritt runs in, and Dr. Fisk is there for no reason.
Right.
Dr. Fisk, if you remember, was the female psychologist that wanted John put away. And so Tom Skerritt runs in, and he is so excited. And he's got this, it looked like a telegram.
It was a telegram.
It was a telegram.
Yes. I don't know why they have telegrams. I mean, I think you should bring back like the singing telegram. But go on.
if anyone would like a singing telegram.
Hello, Ray. Here's your perfume from a secret admirer today. Boop, boop, ba-doo. You will never get through.
I like how you sound a little like Morrissey when you're doing that.
I like how Morrissey sounds a little bit like me.
Why don't you wear your hair in a pompadour next podcast?
Guys, we're almost done here. So then Tom Skerritt in
Come here, good Ray.
Devilish
Good Ray.
Glee reads the.
I love you, good Ray. You are so snuggly. You have nothing bad to say about anybody, good Ray.
What is going on with this movie? That's what I care about.
Tom Skerritt reads the Telegraph, and it says, "Oh God, how do I even approximate this? Like, I am from the show, like Howell's, like the Howell opinion or something, and I think what you're doing at your college is sick. Trying to rehabilitate this monkey of a man. It's total hogwash, and we want you on our show to show that." And somehow Tom Skerritt thinks this is a great idea.
Yeah, he's really excited.
Mini Paul Reiser is like, "We're not going to do this, right? This is horrible." And he's like, "No, this will be great. We'll get to show how Bob is a wonderful person." And he looks to Dr. Fisk and you will apologize and say how your original diagnosis was completely wrong and you should not be practicing medicine. That's his selling point to Dr. Fisk. No, the Dr. Fisk was out of the picture. She hasn't been in this movie at all anymore. And he suddenly brought her in to say, "I'm going to destroy you on national television." That's what he decides to do. So then Bob tries to do a date with Kathy. It doesn't go well. Like, he gives her an engagement ring. She says,
"Let's talk about this," because in the beginning of the movie, she is an architecture student. She makes an architectural model. But then in this scene, inexplicably, she's leading children around the Natural History Museum.
Oh, that's right.
Telling them about mammals. What is she doing? What? Okay, I just wanted to point.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point that out.
And Bob, a super genius now. Let us be clear. Bob is smarter than any of us. Looks at her model and says, she says, "Oh yes, I'm building a house." And he says, "Oh, for little people." And it's like, "Oh, what are you? Are you really smart or are you dumb? What? I don't know." But anyway, he proposes to Kathy. Kathy shoots him down, and he's sad. And Dollar General Paul Reiser takes Bob back to the clock tower and offers his condolences. And they're both up there sad. And, Paul Reiser, he's not rubbing it in Bob's face. He's like, "I'm sad. I'm sorry that you got your feelings hurt. I did tell you she was dating me, but whatevs." So then they get a phone call. When did the clock tower get a phone? They have a phone, and the phone rings, and Dollar Store Paul Reiser picks it up, and it is Dr. Fisk that says, "Come to my office quick. I have something terrible to tell you about Bob." Mini Paul Reiser doesn't ask any questions. He says, "Okay, I'll be right over." Hangs up, doesn't tell Bob what's going on.
Yep.
Just leaves. Phone rings again. Bob answers it. It's Dr. Fisk who says, "Bob, I have terrible news. Kathy's in her dorm and she's been terribly injured. Go help her." Bob's like, "Kathy's hurt? Oh no!" And he runs out there and he runs by a phone booth, and that's where you see Dr. Fisk. And she gets on the phone with security and goes, "Hello, campus security? Someone has broken into the girls' dorm. Come quick. I think they're dangerous." And you go, "Oh, she's set all of this up. She's our villain now." So now Bob is rushing over. He encounters some security. He beats them up, knocks them out, gets over to the dorm. All the co-eds are going crazy and screaming and yelling. There's a big scene where Bob is running from door to door in the dorm. Girls are running out just in nightgowns and everything. And he goes into Kathy's room and he's like, "Kathy, you hurt. You come with Bob." And she's like, "No, Bob, I'm fine. Don't worry about it." "Oh, you're fine. Kathy's not hurt." "Oh." And then police come and he's running from the police, and he runs away into the city. He's gone. Bob has escaped. Now all of our main characters are like, "Wow, we're really sad. We can't find Bob." And then we cut to Bob living his down and out in Beverly Hills routine. He's making friends with dogs. He has his rat. He brought his rat with him. And then he's just living on the streets. The next day he goes to I don't know, what was it, like a fruit packing plant or something? It was just trucks filled with oranges. And he starts grabbing oranges and throwing them out into the street for he and his dogs to eat, apparently. And then he sees a
pack of dogs that are following him around.
Yeah, there's a pack of dogs. And then he sees a television. And on the television, he sees the Howell Opinion, which is essentially, it's not even Jerry Springer. It's like a much more mean-spirited Jerry
Morton
Springer.
Downey Jr.
It was Morton Downey Jr.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what it was. And so he's watching the show, and somehow Tom Skerritt, low-budget Paul Reiser, Kathy, and Dr. Fisk are on the show without John Doe.
Right.
They thought that they would have this whole expose on the Hunchback without the Hunchback, and they didn't say, let's bump this segment to next week. They're like, no, let's just go with whoever we've got. And then they kind of go through with Howell just berating everyone on the set, saying, you're all liberal, just muckety mucks, and you're playing with God, and you're like, you should have killed this Hunchback when you had the chance. And Dr. Fisk, she had the right idea. Throw him into prison for the rest of his life. And that's the show. And so Bob goes, oh my God, this show is on. And he runs out, he gets into a taxi cab, all of his stray dogs get in the taxi cab. And then we have who was playing the cabbie? Like with another
the guy who's like a Russian in every movie. He's like the Russian, he's like the wacky Russian astronaut in 2010. I don't remember. He's been in a million different things. Every time you need a Russian, it's that guy.
He's also on IMDb right now. But anyway, he has an ethnic stereotype, and they're in the taxi cab and they're driving, and he's like, go to the TV studio. So he gets to the TV studio. He hands the cabbie a lot of money because it was made clear earlier in the movie that that Bob Maluga has like $12,000 that he's been building in lost change that he's been finding.
In an inexplicable ball.
Yeah,
it's a ball of money.
A ball of money. So he hands a bunch of money over to the cabbie and says, "You take care of these dogs." He's like, "I'll take care of them till the end of time, as far as I'm concerned." And so he goes in. He gets by security. He climbs the building. He goes inside the building, and then when he sees that Dr. Fisk is kind of yelling at all of his friends on stage, he grabs a rope and he swings across the set, grabbing Dr. Fisk in with both legs, and they're swinging back and forth. The host is going nuts, like, oh my God, this animal is here. And then backstage, and in the control booth, the producer's like, well, let's get mics on them. We want to hear every word they're saying. Well, you can't just magically do that, but I am going to assume that Dr. Fisk had a mic on her. So that's where my brain is trying to make up for this.
Sure. But I have to mention, Gunarso also mentioned the fact that there's always a rope available for him to swing on at any given point. I mean, it's absolutely bizarre. I mean, because the initial one where he's coming out of like the clock tower, and you're like, the clock tower is the highest thing on the campus. Where is this rope being hung?
Yeah.
This is the first thing.
From the bell.
Huh?
From the bell.
But he goes away from the tower. He doesn't like swing
but there's like
on the tower. He goes away.
It's obviously extra rope in case, the bell needs to be roped.
Yeah, but this is a Spider-Man problem. This is always a Spider-Man problem.
He can shoot it.
Yeah, but in any case, so yes, there is a rope and he swings. He grabs Dr. Fisk. Now everyone can hear the mics, and he says, "Why did you lie? Why did you lie? Why did you told me Kathy was hurt? Why did you lie?" And she's like, "Because you were all going to ruin my reputation." This, by the way, was true. Like, if they just left Dr. Fisk alone, she would never have resorted to all of that. It had been made clear throughout the movie she doesn't have any actual problems with Bob. Like, there are a few scenes where she's watching the progress. She's like, yeah, he's doing pretty good. And then he says, you tell the world, I tell everyone what you did. And then she says, well, it's your word against mine. Who's going to believe you? And then we hear that echo over the speakers. And that's when she realizes everyone's heard her say that. And now the whole audience starts chanting, Bob, 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 Bob. And all is forgiven. Bob lands. Off-brand Morton Downey Jr. says, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Also, earlier in the scene, I'm skipping this. Little Paul Reiser found out he got a B average. He's staying in school.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, that happened. Everybody just know it happened. And so then Tom Skerritt says to Bob, he says, what does he say? He says, I bet we can get you some sort of scholarship to the college. And then Kathy goes, then we all get to be together. And then, I don't even remember the line that leads up to it. But then Dr. Gerard just goes up and starts making out with Bob. And
how it happens? Don't worry about it.
I've got to.
No, we can't.
I have to say it. Earlier on in the film, Dr. Gerard asked Bob, has he ever had sex before? And he said, with a woman, no.
Oh, right.
And she's like, well, what have you had sex with? He's like, you won't judge me? She's like, of course not. He says, a Buick Skylark and a 1970s Dodge Charger and a washing machine and a dryer. 2 speeds. Okay, everybody, I've set that up. I've said it. I can't unsay it.
So to make implicitly clear to everybody that Ian did not write this material.
I did not.
He's simply relaying it to you. He's not responsible for what you just heard.
However, I could have not quoted that. I could have not gone there, except I had to, because the movie ends with this. Bob is making out with Dr. Gerard. And it's kind of this classic, oh, you're the one I love who's been in front of me the whole time. And so then someone asks Bob, do you regret anything? And Bob is wistful and he says, regret? And they're like, would you do something over? And then he goes, yes. And he grabs Dr. Gerard and he starts making out with her. And then he goes, while making out with her, stops kissing her and looks at the camera and says, 2 speeds. That's the final line of this movie. Play the music, cut the credits. All right? Alan Katz wrote this film, workshopped this film, like brought it to coffee shop read-throughs where people could give him feedback on the script.
And this is a writer on the level of MASH.
Yeah, and this film, this was his one movie that he was going to get made. And he cared about it so much that he decided no one can play this character with the authenticity that I can. This is his film. And he decides to end this movie by going, boom, boom, 2 speeds. Cut the credits. And there we have Big Man on Campus. I have my thoughts. I would like yours.
I just want to point out that, what was his name again? Alan Katz? Alan Katz. Alan Katz has another movie, but I'm not going to do that to us. But it was in 2015.
Yes.
He made another movie. He wrote it, and he directed it. And I guess he only walks on or something. Okay. But I don't think he actually starred.
Would that be the film Bucky and the Squirrels?
That's exactly that movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Bucky and Squirrels.
Okay, John, I'm just going to start with you.
Yeah, like most of Jason's movies, these are Cineback movies. It was made for $24. It was made to not impress anybody. I think
This movie cost more than all the other Showtime movies we saw put together.
Had Tom Skerritt.
You got Tom Skerritt. You got tons of people on the screen all the time, and then you've got actual people on ropes swinging around. I mean, it's insanely expensive. You have a whole giant set. The money here is astronomical by Showtime standard.
Well, that's just sad.
And I'll tell you, this wasn't a Showtime movie. This was in theaters. There's no way this movie wasn't in theaters.
Yeah, for like a minute. I mean,
no,
I think it was.
No.
I don't even think it finished the movie before they took it out of the theaters.
No, John.
I think like 30 minutes into the movie, they're like, "All right, let's get this."
John, that is not how movies worked back then.
I think Jason remembers these movies better than people who actually made this movie. These movies.
Yeah,
remember these movies.
I've
always wanted to show up to a Star Trek convention and say, Michael Dorn, will you please sign my Amanda and the Alien DVD?
That is a great idea.
Guys, I have been in the room at comic book conventions with Michael Dorn more than once. And now it is my biggest, like if you were to ask me that question that was asked to Bob Maluga, do you have any regrets? It was not trying to get Michael Dorn to sign Amanda in the Alien.
You know what we got to do, guys? Is we got to find out where he's going to be, and we all get like Amanda in the Alien like T-shirts.
Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, post-pandemic, that is not going to be hard for me to do.
Alien.
Yeah.
That's a plan. But anyway, John, any other feelings about this horrible film?
No, there's nothing to feel about these movies. I'll say this. I'll give this to Jason. This is the worst movie we've ever seen. This is the worst movie we've ever seen. Yes. I thought about this a lot. He's picked the worst movie out of 11 or 12 weeks or whatever we've been doing. Congratulations, Jason. You've done good. We're doing a bad.
I'm proud of myself. I'm just surprised you didn't think Dead Weekend was worse.
Yeah, John. I'm gonna bring this back to you. You bring so much hate. You bring so much hate my direction because I don't like punching down. But you somehow are thinking this was the worst movie. You think this is worse than Amanda in the Alien.
Embrace the dark side, young Jedi.
You think that this movie is better than Dead Weekend? You are ridiculous.
I agree. I agree here. Yes. I agree that this is worse than Amanda and the Alien and Dead Weekend.
And I'll tell you what.
Coming from.
And I'll tell you what else. The second and third worst movies are also Jason's.
No, let's not forget Dead Weekend was my fault for following the Amanda and the Alien thread as far as it could go. Yeah, I've learned my lesson.
And then he also did a movie so bad I couldn't even do it. We're forgetting that too. Jason.
So Ray, what did you think of our man on campus?
It was kind of charming.
Where is your hate for Ray right here, John? Like you bring it to me like I've got a target on my back. Ray says the movie's charming. You're like, yeah, whatever. That's a good point.
But it's Ray. I mean, it's like, I think if she met this hunchback on Bumble, she'd go on a date with him. She likes. Because she likes these 100%. She likes these messed up guys with issues and guys she can fix and
we're getting way off task.
He looks like he's into like Joy Division. He looks like he listens to Joy Division. I mean, she'd date him a couple times.
Everybody, Cheryl has asked, was it sexist?
Was it sexist? That's what Ray should be at. That's what we should be asking Ray. Ray? Was big man on campus, not big woman on campus, was big man on campus sexist?
I mean, they're fighting over, Kathy like a prize. There are some strong women in this film for sure.
But he was respectful.
the two doctors are kind of rivals here, and I don't know. There's potential.
Right. All he did was try.
Potential.
All he did was French kiss her. He didn't like penis pump her.
There was potential for the women to be strong and not reliant upon male relationships, but kind of falls flat in that arena as well. All in all, not really impressive film for women. Not really impressive film overall. Kind of cute in a hokey kind of way.
So it didn't do for the advancement of women like Super Mario Brothers did.
I mean, honestly, this is not the worst film we've watched for sure.
It's not. It's okay, but it's not Cherry 2000.
Cherry 2000.
I mean, they're all bad movies. Let's be real.
But is it sexist?
The whole premise of me, and all us five guys just reviewing these bad films.
I just want a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Siskel and Ebert, this movie, sexist or not sexist? We need to know. God damn it!
I think it's just a lot of gray area.
God damn it! We need a thumbs up or thumbs down.
It doesn't pass the Bechdel test because
This movie is going to lose $1 billion if you don't answer this.
I don't think there's any women having conversations that aren't about men in this movie, with each other. Is there any point where two women talk to each other in this film?
No, I don't think so.
Is there any point of this podcast when two women talk to each other?
Oh no!
I know. I just want to wish everyone a happy Women's Day.
Well, I'm only here because I was going to be replaced if I wasn't. So
you were not going to be replaced. No, you weren't going to be replaced.
Even though I'm exhausted,
you were actually going to bust out until I talked you on. You're like, is everyone on?
I'm really falling asleep while this podcast is happening.
Yeah. Well, so we're going to get to the end of this.
I'm in my jams.
But I don't know if this is sexist or not. Is it sexist?
Give us a call, Ray.
I think this is not doing any favors to women, but it's not sexist either.
Would you call it mildly sexist?
It's a medium.
I would say it's mildly sexist.
It's not a thumbs up or a thumbs down. All right. You saved a lot of people their careers.
Right. Jules.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you feel about this motion picture?
I did think that it was uniquely incoherent. Mm-hmm. I think the incoherency of it is only rivaled by Neil Breen, I think. In terms of, does the world work the way the world does? And in Neil Breen, the answer is no. And in Big Man on Campus, the answer is no. In a special way. I don't.
All right, Jules, I'm going to talk about this, and this isn't going to be. I'm not going to have the final word because I want the final word to be Jason's. But when I was watching this, I had a revelation, and it only made me like this movie less. What this is a middle school play. Now, you can all figure this out by saying this. I've directed a lot of middle school theater. I have been directing middle school theater for 20 years and almost exclusively middle school screwball comedies. And they work exactly the way this movie does. All of them. This is what all middle school theater is set up to do, is give weird little vignettes where you get the different actors, the different students in various arrangements, have them a little funny scene where the audience can laugh, they can move off, so you can get another group of kids on stage and they can have another little funny scene. And you want as many crowd scenes as possible because you've got all of these extra kids who need to get on stage. And you have to have them on stage for as long as possible so their parents can see them and justify why they've been in rehearsal for 3 months. And then at the end, you have to have a big scene where everybody's together and it all ties up in the end. Every loose plot hole needs to tie up in the end, and all the characters need to be present. And the minute when I saw everybody on that stage on the Howell show, and Kathy says, and now we get to be together. I'm like, oh my God. Like, and even the one-liners, there's another thing you need to know about any general middle school play is that the director who's directing it ends up writing at least 30% of the play. Because you get the kids on stage and you start moving them, and then you say, oh, this would be a funny gag right here. And you write a little funny gag of a kid falling over a table or making a joke about penis pumps or something. No, obviously you can't do that. That's terrible. But that's all this movie is it's every scene. They're like, oh, it would be funny if Bob says this for no reason. It'll be a little bit of a gag. You could have taken this movie, taken out the sexual material and put it on a middle school stage, and it would read. That's what this movie is. That's why it seemed so.
And that's what you're doing next year, I presume.
I really want to do that. I could easily turn.
No, I see it. I see it. There's lots of like cheesy like spotlighting and yeah.
Yeah, I'm very serious that I'm almost at the level of rewriting Big Man on Campus as a script and putting it on as a middle school production as a gag. I will do that.
Do it. Dude, this will be
I will put 42 middle schoolers in a production just to make an in-joke from this podcast.
Ian, did you see Mr. Holland's Opus?
Yes, I have.
All right. No further comment.
Okay.
Maybe rewatch it. That's my only.
Yeah. Last word, Jason.
Needed to switch movies, and it just this one just came to me. Like, I think a lot of the same way other movies saw it on TV when I was a lot younger, and just was like, okay, let's do another one of those. And it was silly. I liked it when I was a kid. Now I think it's, looking at it from a different perspective. Here's an interesting fact about it, though. The company that made this movie had the original reel in a warehouse that burned down. And so there was a very limited number of VHS tapes that were made. And then, the whole thing burned down, and they never were able to use the reel to make more VHS. So I guess there were very few in circulation because whatever small amount they made were probably owned by people. But like 10 years ago, I actually went looking around the internet to try to find it. It was not any streaming or anything. It was not YouTube. And it took a while. I think it took, I looked it up a few times over the course of a year and found out that some third-party Amazon seller has it. So I bought like one of the rare VHS copies that's actually around.
Jesus Christ. What the fucking fuck, man? So I have to say, like, when I watched that murder porn movie, I was just like, I don't know about this Jason guy. Now I'm like, oh shit.
Well, I have to say, in terms of the availability, there are a lot of times that I pause this movie to be like, Jesus Christ, when is this going to end? I have to say, unlike the other ones where an hour in, I'm like, why isn't it over? Why do we have to do another half an hour? I was there a half an hour in, being like, is something going to happen? Blah, blah. But anyways, so while I'm pausing on YouTube for that guy who uploaded it illegally or whatever, I'm pausing, and then underneath it, they're like, oh, you like stupid 80s movies. They're like, Big Trouble in Little China, free with ads. They're like, Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield, free with ads. They're like, Captain Ron, free with ads. And then if you scroll down, then it's this movie, buy or rent.
Okay.
I can't explain that.
I can't explain it. No, it's a mystery of the universe. It's like, why do bees fly? Why is this not free with ads?
Supply and demand.
So John,
yeah.
The cards on the table right now. My laptop's about to die, and I don't want to drop out at the end of this podcast.
No, you don't.
I know you and I have unfinished business, which we will
sure
pick up
do.
next week. Which we'll pick up next week.
All right.
But it is your turn, John. It is your turn.
Okay.
What are we watching, and when are we going to have to change it to another movie?
Okay, so very funny. All right, so I've had so it's 5 weeks. It's a long time. I've really looked into this. I've spent a lot of time in it. I got a wonderful choice from Johnny Ganache from Pina Comics. He suggested to me Hard Ticket to Hawaii, which me and Ray watch, which is absolutely perfect. It's wonderful. I was a little partial of Deadly Prey, which I don't know if you heard of that. It's like it's a First Blood knockoff made for like $20.
That's exactly our jam.
It's exactly our jam. You know, I was still holding my back pocket. Even after I found Deadly Prey, I was still holding in my back pocket Kirk Cameron, Saving Christmas, because it would drive everyone crazy, especially Jules. I couldn't do another Neil Breen movie. I already did Neil Breen. We got him. He's done. He's over with. And A Deadly Prey is absolutely perfect for us. Next week, the movie we're going to watch is Neil Breen's A Twisted Pair. I'm going to put the link on the comments here where you can watch it for free. You'll need some ad blockers.
Okay, I gotta miss next week. Bye, guys.
John. Ray literally left the podcast.
Oh no.
You go to hell, Carrier.
You know, it's somebody's got it's a bad movie podcast, and he is the king. He does perfect movies for what we need. We got a little taste of him last time, but I really think this movie, Twisted Pair, is it's going to bring this podcast to the next level. Instead of 3 people watching us live, we're going to have 5 people watching us live. I think it's that good. I really do.
John?
Yes.
Last time, the first time when Neil Breen got brought up, I was excited. I'm like, who is this Freddy Krueger monster that I've never heard of? And now that I've seen it, I am so demoralized. Like, I have to watch this week. Oh, God.
This is,
God. Well, what can we say, John? This is a dangerous podcast. This is a dangerous podcast.
It's dangerous, and it's getting more dangerous. I'm telling you, this isn't the movie we want. This is the movie we need. Challenge everybody.
The movie we needed was that First Blood knockoff you just talked. I would pay you money to watch that.
The fact that you want to watch it tells us it's not the right movie.
Oh, okay. Fine. Twisted Pair, that's what we're fucking watching.
It's called A Twisted Pair. It's Neil Breen.
Neil Breen.
I'm trying to copy
You're throwing the link up in the chat.
I'm trying to paste it, and it's saying
it's
Facebook
saying don't
is
watch
not letting
movie.
me.
Is that what it's saying? The internet won't let us watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what we're saying?
This is important. We need to watch this. We don't want to watch it. We need to watch it. This is, I'm doing us a favor. I'm doing what we need. I'm not doing what we want.
Fine.
If I did what we want, I'd put up I don't know.
Fine.
Star Trek something. This is what we need. Twisted Pair.
Whose choice is it next week?
It is yours, Jules.
Oh, is it? Okay.
No, it's not, is it? Already?
Wait.
No, it's Ray's.
It's Ray's next week. Yeah, that's right. It's Ray.
Okay.
So everybody, John, are we going to get that link, or should we be ending right now?
You know what? I'll try to put it up on the event page once Jules puts that up. I've been trying to put it on here, and it's not working. So on the event page, I'll try to have something. Facebook is blocking it because I have a free link to where you can watch it for. If you just Google A Twisted Pair, free streaming, you'll find it.
Okay.
It's not. Yeah. I mean,
I now understand Cheryl's comment before about testicular torsion. I understand the joke.
Okay.
Going back to that Wells Lazy, I want to explain to him. Ganarso, I mean, I don't disagree with that, but I think Neil Breen is is an exception, and I think he needs to be explored more. That's just my feeling. You know what? I'm sorry if you don't like it. I'm one every 5 weeks, not even once a month. Okay, so I'm trying to bring us, and I think I did good when I brought us there. I thought I brought us back to,
and it almost broke the whole podcast.
It didn't break the whole podcast.
All right. Anyway, Twisted Pair next week.
Twisted Pair.
I'm your host, Ian Alley Fields. I'm here with John, Jason, and Jules. We don't have Ray because she left. Because
Ray, right. She's not putting up with this shit.
She's not dealing with this bullshit.
No, she's not.
So anyway, have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
All right, good night, guys.